It ain't War and Peace. This you can use. Seattle's best dive bars, drinking and diving in the Emerald City by our guest tonight, Mike Seeley, right here on Public Exposure. I'm Stan Emert. Mike, it is so great to have you in the chair as a book author.
Talking about alcohol instead of politics.
Yeah, well, you know, is there
Kind
a
of
difference?
close. No, not really.
Your book, Seattle's Best Dive Bars, Drinking and Diving in the Emerald City, is extremely readable, very fun book. The internet is down, so we can't get this review, but there's a review on Amazon that says you need 2 or 3 of them in your car because if you're around, you need to know where you're supposed to stop.
Right, well, you might lose some too.
Big question. You know, usually the people's first book is autobiographical. Is this one autobiographical for you?
In part, for certain. I have always loved these bars since I first was of drinking age, and perhaps a couple years earlier than that. They're just the places that feel most comfortable to me on the one hand, and on the other hand also the most combustible. Very unique experience no matter what.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's get to this first slide because it's actually out of the preamble. Are we ready with that? If we're ready with that, yeah, here we are. Some dives have vomit cake toilet seats in the bathroom. Others have cracked vinyl booths in the bar room. Let's go to the next. Some have nicotine-stained murals dating back to the Depression. Others have drink prices that seemingly haven't wavered since then. Wow, what an inviting group of sentences that is.
Well, it's quite diverse, as are the crowds at the dive bar. But I mean, you know, it's tough to really define a dive bar. I mean, especially in Seattle, which is kind of a new city. The other cities where this similar book has been published are Chicago, San Francisco, and New York. When you're in an older city like that, you really know you're in a dive bar. Seattle, it takes a little creativity, so I got a little creative in terms of what I included.
Well, actually, let's get into that. What is a dive bar? We even found a dive bar named Dive Bar. That was in another city, but what is a dive bar?
Most dive bars are places that don't really care about decor, would be the simplest definition of it. That don't necessarily clean the bathrooms every day or even every week.
You mean like observe health codes?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's a very obvious definition of a dive bar. But you know, there's other ones like the Duchess, for instance, that I included, just because it's one of the few places where you'll see, you know, fairly affluent Seattleites slumming it, if you will, like just getting real simple with how they like to enjoy their evenings. You know, very beer and trick.
Well, you went through and you've got a top 10 list, and we're going to go over some of them tonight, but you've got a rating system. So let's go to the rating system, you know, and you did it by Steins.
Steins of Rainier.
Steins of Rainier.
To be exact,
okay.
yeah.
So one Stein is one toothless old man at the bar. What does this mean?
You know, it's just kind of a relaxed place, but not very intimidating. Maybe clean, but not so clean that the toothless old man won't feel comfortable there.
And then two Steins, one toothless old man under the bar. 3 Steins, one toothless old man behind the bar. What about that one?
That'd be the bartender. That's when you know you're in the pros.
And 4 Steins is leave your valuables at home. Kind of intimidating there.
Yeah, definitely.
But the 5th, the top, the #1 rating of all time goes to 5 Steins, drink and be merry, for tonight you shall die.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the Armageddon principle, and that's you know, the world's going to end. So let's leave it all on the floor.
Now, this first bar that we're going to talk about is not in the top 10, but it is the Copper Door Tavern. Let's go to this. Some great writing here, by the way. Pulitzer Prize stuff. It says, when the lunch crowd includes a wild-eyed, wheelchair-bound guy drinking straight rum and yelling "Arr" without provocation, that's a dive bar. Let's go to the next quote. Drinkers here don't screw around. Every ounce of pain incurred during the workday or perhaps over the course of 2 tours in Nam is going to be matched in consumption at the bar.
That's right. You know, the Copper Door is down by, you know, it's down kind of by Boeing on Marginal Way. And so you get a lot of swing shift workers, not only from Boeing, but also from a lot of the other industrial businesses down there. Those guys don't screw around. I mean, it's a shot and a beer. It's like the port workers in The Wire. You know, they don't mess around. Mixed drinks are absolutely forbidden.
Oh, they are? Well, tell us about
much.
your research. Did you just have to go drinking every day for a while?
About every other day, for sure. And there were multiple stops each day. I mean, it was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but it was weird having to drink in certain neighborhoods on a given night. It became kind of like a job, but I imagine the funnest job ever.
And this is actually, you said it tongue-in-cheek, but because you mentioned the 2 tours of Nam, but we are known around here for a lot of Vietnam veterans. in your stops along the way in your research, did you find a lot of Vietnam veterans?
Not so much Vietnam veterans, but as I mentioned in the preamble, when I was at a bar in Everett called the Doghouse, just a classic, I did bump into a 50-something veteran of the current war in the Middle East. And he said Kabul, and I thought he'd said Cabo. And I told him, well, that's not that rough. And of course, he looked at me like I just killed the Pope or something, and quickly rectified the whole situation with a shot of SoCo for him. Yeah.
Oh,
nice guy.
SoCo, what's SoCo?
Southern Comfort, which you should never order a shot of, by the way.
Yeah, well, coming from the South, I know better myself.
It's not so comfortable,
No,
even though, despite its name.
All right, let's go to the number 10. This is the number on the list of top 10 dive bars. It is Water Wheel. It looks like a glorified double wide where Swayze should be dancing.
That's right. Patrick Swayze from the movie Roadhouse. It just reminds me of that movie. Although the bar is not quite as big, but it literally is a double wide.
Double wide trailer?
Yeah, it's a double wide trailer in a gravel parking lot along 15th Avenue, Northwest up in Crown Hill. And it really is a rough looking place from the outside, but really, really friendly on the inside.
Well, why did it make your top 10?
I don't know, just extreme uniqueness. The afternoon bartender is this really sweet elderly woman, which thing. In a lot of the intimidating dives, you'll find female bartenders, I think, just to kind of diffuse the whole situation instantly.
So when you get right down to it, the rating system that Mike has gone through is one that is one of feel. So if the bar feels like a top 10, then it made the top 10,
Exactly.
right?
It's just the top 10 best times I had.
All right, well, let's go to one that didn't make the top 10, but I don't know, this is just very cool. The White Center Eagles Club. Let's go to this. Here we are, White Center Eagles Club. Contrary to popular opinion, there are actually white people in White Center, especially AARP members. Few things are safe than drinking with people who could pass for your grandparents.
Well, my grandparents still drink, and I think they're watching, and that's one of the coolest experiences I have on a consistent basis. But the White Center Eagles Club is a country western bar, essentially. They have karaoke that starts at about 6:30 at night to cater to their crowd, and there's not many country western bars in Seattle. I mean, the Little Red Hen is pretty much all you got. And granted, White Center is a little bit outside of the city limits, but I managed to annex the entire neighborhood for my book for obvious reasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, White Center is an area that you sort of call pretty close to home.
Pretty close to home, definitely. Since a very weird, dynamic, fun neighborhood to go out in.
Oh, okay, well, all right, let's go to number 9. And this one's very, very special because it's in 2 categories. Angie's Raucous, Blackalicious, Bird Flip to Columbia City's gentrification.
Yeah, it felt like partying in Logan Square in D.C. It's just not like a Seattle bar.
Yeah?
And it is the only bar, as you mentioned, to make the top 10 most intimidating and 10 best. But
Well, tell me why it's the 10 best. Is it because it's in Columbia City and you just want to be politically correct?
No, it's not. I mean, it's the most, I don't know, it's kind of the last vestige of Columbia City before Columbia City became Wallingford with people, which is kind of what it is now. Columbia City used to be all black people, and Angie's is kind of the last vestige of that. It's where a lot of the old-time neighborhood folks go to get down a little bit. It's just a great time.
So this was this was in the top 10 in 2 different categories, and we're gonna get into it in just a minute. I just wanted to say that we're very fortunate to have Mike Seeley, author, on tonight. He has written a book, Seattle's Best Dive Bars, Drinking and Diving in the Emerald City. It's a great book. There it is in a smoke-filled room. You're going to want to get it and read it because then you'll know where to go or maybe